Yo, what's happening guys? Saberwolf94 for the top 10 best Swampert cards from what we got so far. With Mudkip being my favorite starter hands down, and Hoenn being more nostalgic to me than Johto and even Kanto, Swampert is close to Salamence as my favorite Pokemon, and I love just about everything from its competitive effectiveness in games to its evolution in alliance designs. Sad news is, like Salamence, most Swampert cards were average or above average at best, and the ones that had potential were hard to use. There aren't even that many Swampert cards, but even so, there are a few that were actually powerful and had some competitive success. Like with my top 10 Salamence cards, cards will be judged by their playability and how great they are as standalone cards without partners. So how great their stats, attacks, and other effects are in general. Most importantly, they'll be judged on their respective format and era, otherwise the newest cards will be better by default. Art is not a factor in their rank, even if I mention it. Enjoy! Number 10. Swampert from Primal Clash, the regular rare. The plain Swampert from Primal Clash is just that, a plain average Swampert. Average stats, average attacks, not terrible, just plain average, not suited to go up against top decks. 150 HP is fine for the time, but the attacks are just too plain and average. A 60 damage snipe could be cool, but not for 3 energy. And 120 for 4 is just plain average once again. Both of its attacks are double colorless compatible, but that's not enough for such a modest card. Simple card to use though for lower casual play. Number 9. Swampert EX X and Y Tin Promo. So here comes first Swampert card that's hard to use. Even though Swampert got an EX card for the X and Y era, it's a pretty disappointing representation for a fan like me. The little, if any potential it has, is with its Mud Flood attack, which has potential to do high damage if you reveal 3 or 4 water energy from the top of your deck. It's a luck-based attack though, and even though you can try to control your top decks and build a deck around this attack, it's more of a gimmick than anything else, and not easy to do. Costing less than 3 energy, or at least doing a lot more base damage, would have been better for it. Disappointing EX promo, but at least it has that gimmick for potential greatness, as opposed to nothing at all. Number 8. Swampert from EX Ruby and Sapphire Theme Deck. The regular rare Swampert from EX Ruby and Sapphire also comes in the starter theme deck and has really iconic art. It's a pretty simple card that can make a mini tank with a little support. His 1 for 20 snipe is solid for that old era, and while 3 for 50 is pretty average, you have incentive to slowly build it up because of his Pokebody, Natural Remedy, and heals 10 damage every time you attach a water energy from your hand. Not sure about the ruling, but this could work on any Swampert besides himself. Even if it doesn't though, since it can snipe early and help heal himself, with a little more healing support, you can last longer than you think, which in my opinion makes him a simpler but more effective, lower risk card to use than the Swampert EX promo. Not the best Swampert around, but definitely not the worst one either. Number 7. Swampert from Supreme Victors. Swampert from Supreme Victors is another Swampert that has one very good thing going for it, but falls short on everything else. His Pokebody, Root Protector, is an amazing asset in an SP-dominant metagame, letting it block 20 damage from any unevolved Pokemon, making him a pretty enticing card to want to use. Unfortunately, his attacks are hard to use, pretty much making them shit attacks. Dragoff can pull an opponent's bench Pokemon before doing damage, and that's a great effect, but because it costs 3 energy, only doing 30 damage kills it. If it did 30 for 2 or 50 for 3, we could have had something going here. As it is though, it's very underwhelming. Pushover is also a pain in the ass attack, costing 4 energy that's gonna do 90 damage if you have 3 fighting energy on, and it can get stronger if by some miracle you manage to put more on him. With a specification like that and costing 4 energy, 90 damage is underwhelming as well. A few minor adjustments would make this attack more acceptable, like maybe costing 3 energy, so you can at least have the option to do 80 for 3. That's not asking much. The only small redemption this attack has is if you combine this card with Great Encounter Swampert and some switches, then maybe you can get it going, but once again it's hard to do, and even then probably not worth the trouble. A damn shame with such an amazing body, but perhaps with an expert build and some healing, Swampert can be a good tank on its own. Number 6. Swampert EX from EX Team Magma vs Team Aqua. I feel kinda sad putting the original Swampert EX solo on the list, but it's hard to justify otherwise. This card was actually a main attacker for a Swampert World Championship finalist deck called Rocky Beach, but for the junior division, so I can't take it into account as much as I'd like. His HP is standard for an EX Stage 2 Pokemon for the time, but his attacks don't have that EX touch to them. Crushing Wave is a snipe for 40, with a coin flip to discard an energy to the target as well. If Swampert EX did this attack for 2 energy, I would have been more forgiving, but for 3 the damage is just too low. Hyper Pump is solid, but won't win any awards for a great attack. You do 20 for 1, and will do an additional 20 for each basic energy on Swampert. Your limit is 100 damage for 5, which was standard for other EX Pokemon for 5 energy, without any drawbacks. The good thing is you can start attacking right away and get stronger every turn, but it only gives moderate pressure. For an EX Pokemon, it doesn't go beyond solid. NumberFive, Swampert from Great Encounters. Root Protector is great, and you don't have to do anything to get its benefit, but in general, I'd say Swampert from Great Encounters is more well-rounded. Hammer Arm is a more reasonable attack for 4 energy, and it also discards the top card from your opponent's deck, which isn't a bad effect at all. His Wash-Shot Pokepower lets you move a water or fighting energy from your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon, so with some switches you might be able to do some neat combos and conserve energy. You can't move it from the active, which is unfortunate, but it does cover 2 energy types, and best of all, it's immune to Power Spray. I don't remember this card doing much either, but a power like that definitely has its uses, and he can be combined with many Pokemon if you want to try him. Nice enough card. Number 4, Swampert from Crystal Guardians. Alright, now we're getting into the really good stuff. The rare Crystal Guardian Swampert from Crystal Guardians is the only non-EX fighting Swampert, and has the best HP of all Swamperts from the EX series. This card also comes as a rare holo as part of the Crystal Guardians theme decks. Echo Draw is a simple power, just draw a card, but that's pretty good. You don't have to meet any conditions like other draw Pokepowers, and even if it's 1 card, it's still consistency and can help Swampert and his pals. For a Stage 2 deck around him, he's a nice asset, since he would be your main attacker anyway. Rock Hurl does 3 for 60, which won't make him an extreme killer, but it's solid damage for 3 energy for that time, and you don't have to worry about fighting resistances, which many Pokemon had back in the EX era. The reason why I think this Swampert is better than the previous ones is because he can stand on his own feet, and his power can help other Pokemon too. One of the better ones for sure. Number 3, Swampert from EX Emerald. EX Emerald Swampert is pretty cool in many ways. For starters, Water Cyclone does the same thing Washout does on Great Encounter Swampert, but you move water energy from the active on your bench Pokemon. Moving energy from the active to the bench is better than moving it from the bench to the active, in my opinion, but regardless, you will be more successful with this Swampert because there were cards like Mr. Briney's Compassion, which is a supporter scoop up basically. The format in general was much easier to handle for this Swampert. Spinning Tail does 10 to all of your opponent's Pokemon, so if they had a full or close to full bench, you were doing 50 to 60 total damage for 1 energy. Spread was much more crucial and reliable in the EX era as opposed to DP, and you can't ask for much better with a 1 energy attack. Aquasonic does 60 for 3, you ignore resistance like the previous Swampert, so you're decent in that regard as well. If you use Water Cyclone right, Aquasonic is easier to do, and you can spend your attachments powering other Pokemon. This is probably the best non-EX Swampert card, and maybe even better than number 2, but I think it's pretty nice here at number 3. Number 2, Swampert from EX Ruby and Sapphire, and Alpha Growth Swampert from Primal Clash. Saberwolf 94 top 10, there's gonna be a Saberwolf 94 tie. Okay, so the original Holo Swampert from EX Ruby and Sapphire has only one great aspect, but I feel like it's too good, so it matches Alpha Growth Swampert from Primal Clash, which is in general the best Swampert when it comes to damage output. Water Call lets you attach an extra water energy from your hand to your active Pokemon, so it's basically a mini deluge / rain dance. Now many of you may not be very impressed with a mini deluge, but trust me, this was pretty fucking good back then. The EX series formats were exceptionally some of the slowest formats, centered around setup than trying to do high damage quick, so anything that sped things up with energy acceleration was very special. This is also why this card is here instead of EX Emerald Swampert. Emerald Swampert is clearly more well-rounded in terms of flexibility and stats, but that energy acceleration is valuable and doesn't need other combo pieces like Water Cyclone. Hypno Splash even with Auto Sleep is average doing 50 for 4, but remember you got Water Call too. You would likely have a couple of these in play, so the effect gives great value. You can power yourself, any other Swamperts, or other water attackers. This card was also a crucial part of Rocky Beach, being the method used to quickly power up Swampert EX, so it's a Worlds card as well. On the other hand, Swampert from Primal Clash with Alpha Growth has a great attack, and Dive and Search can help Swampert and others, being a great consistency ability. With Acrobike, Unknown, and other straight draw, can become like a computer search adder, and that's a great asset. Hydro Pump is essentially 130 damage for 3 water energy, and grows stronger and stronger the more water energy you have on, meaning you can knock out anything if you have a bunch of water energy. It's actually much stronger than other similar attacks, and it's the strongest attack Swampert ever had. He is also one of the few very fortunate Pokemon to get an ancient trait, an additional effect outside of its ability that can't be stopped, and in this case it's Alpha Growth. Like my beloved Primal Kyogre EX, with this effect you can attach 2 water energy instead of 1 on Swampert per turn, which goes perfectly with its great attack. Sadly, because of the format, this card didn't do shit, even with all this, and that is very, very sad. Both cards can support other Pokemon with their effects, and even though Primal Clash Swampert has a great attack for its time, and can at least accelerate itself with energy, EX Ruby and Sapphire Swampert's Universal Energy Flexible Acceleration is enough to give it a matching merit for me. No matter what though, both of these cards are some of the best prints Swampert ever got, everyone can agree. However, there is one Swampert card that easily rules them all. NumberOne! Swampert EX from EX Crystal Guardians. It's really easy to say Swampert EX from Crystal Guardians is the best Swampert card from any angle you look at it. His stats for an EX Pokemon meet the era standards, having 150 HP for a Stage 2 Pokemon, and besides his 3 retreat, everything else is great too. Energy Recycle lets you grab any 3 energies from the discard pile and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. He can instantly power himself up this way, or power up other Pokemon, and the beauty of it all is it works from the bench too. You can even grab any of the crazy special energies from back then too, another useful technicality. Your turn ends when you do this, but this isn't that big of a problem. Like I've said, setup plays an important role in those formats, and it's a small price to pay for the reward. So what kind of attack do you get with him? Ultra Pump. A fitting name. This is basically a slightly stronger pump from LA's Kindra's Dragon Pump that costs 2 more energy, but in that era is a fantastic attack. You can discard 2 cards from your hand to do 80 for 3 and 20 on a bench Pokemon, meaning 100 damage total. With a Porygon 2, Pidgeot's ability to add supporters, and other methods, you can meet the cost every turn and do fuckloads of damage. Looking at all the merits of this card, it easily is the best Swampert. Self-sufficient, great attacker, and can even accelerate energy for other Pokemon too. And so, it is practically a no-brainer for me to deem Swampert EX from Crystal Guardians the best and strongest Swampert card as of this video. Okay, another top 10 for one of my favorite Pokemon, my favorite starter at that. I want to ask you guys to leave a like if you liked it, share this with your friends to learn cool shit, and tell me what you guys think. I only left out the Pop Swampert pretty much. It's not like I had numerous amazing cards to choose from with Swampert. Don't forget to subscribe, and what's up?